Okay, back on the Stewart Warner 9000B. This is the second part, and we should finish it up here. I decided to go ahead and stain it because it was just going to end up too light, and so I made the bezel parts and glued those in, and so we're just waiting for that glue to dry, and then we can start applying lacquer. We have 3 coats on here now. And I'm guessing we'll probably do 2 more. I'll do one later today. Then hopefully, if it isn't raining, I can give it a couple days and then do a light sanding and a final coat. It's been a couple of days since I put the last coat of lacquer on there. And so I'm laying out now to mount the chassis. Those holes have not been drilled yet. They come through the bottom. So I have to mark it on the inside first and then make some measurements so I can transfer the holes to the outside. And start with a small drill. Then I can flip it back over and look on the inside and see how close I was. I had to move it a little bit, but it was no big deal. So once the chassis holes are drilled, I can put the chassis in for the last time. This is the final assembly, so it will not be coming back out. This screw seemed to go right on in without any problems, and the same with this one. So I'm going to leave them just finger tight now for some final adjustments on the front panel to make sure the pots are coming through the holes right in the center. The antenna's attached, and I'm going to go ahead and make the connections. They're just little plug-ons. This antenna has actually 3 wires in the loop, which is somewhat different than other radios. This is the back panel I'd made earlier and, of course, forgot to record. And I still have to make some feet for the bottom. I'm not going to use the rubber. I'm going to go ahead and make wooden ones. I thought I would go ahead and show the process that I go through when I'm getting ready to make something on the router. This is Vectric software. It's designed primarily for CNC routers and for woodworking. It can be used for other things because it generates a toolpath which can be applied to metal too, but it's designed around woodworking. The feet will be 1.5 inches in diameter, and there'll be a 1/4 inch hole all the way through in the center for the screw, and then there's going to be a counter bore so that the screw head sits down below the bottom of the foot. And once I got this done, I subsequently made a few changes that I'm not going to show. I'm not going to go back through this portion of it to show the changes that I made, but they were minor. This shows actually creating the tool paths. And this first one is going to be a drilling tool path, and it makes the 1/4 inch hole in the middle. And I just use an end mill for that, or 1/4 inch router bit. And I'm selecting that here. And when I get the end mill selected, I will use what's called peck drilling, which instead of plunging all the way down through there in one pass, this thing goes up and down and deeper each time, and it clears the chips. So I hit calculate, and it creates the tool path. This actually shows a simulation of actually cutting the tool path, but I have to slow it down so it's easier to follow. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the counter bore. In this case, it's a profile tool path. So I set up the parameters. the cutting depth and so on, and hit calculate. And there's the tool path. Now I'll go ahead and I'll run both of these together in the simulation so you can see how the machine is going to process these tool paths. Now we'll go ahead and cut the outer dimension of these feet. This will be another profile, and this will go all the way through the material. Select the outside and hit calculate, and there's the tool path. I'll go ahead and rerun the whole thing so it does the 3 tool paths in order. So there you have it. Now we're ready to transfer those files out to the machine and get it going. We're ready to go. Now the first thing I'm going to do is add a bevel to the very bottom of the feet just to make it look a little bit better. And then I made the counter bore big enough to hold a washer, because I figured that would be a better way to hold those feet onto the bottom of that was with a screw and a washer. So now we're just cutting the bevel. That's with a V-bit. And next we're going to go ahead and run the program with the 1/4-inch cutter, which will first make the holes, then it'll do the counter bore, then it'll cut out the outside and leave me with 4 nice little feet. See how the peck drilling works? If you don't do that, it really loads the chips up down in that hole, and it can heat up the cutter, and it just won't last as long. And now we're going to do the counter bore. And then finally we'll cut out the outside. I added some real small tabs so that these things don't come flying out. But they kind of did anyway. I think I had my tool depth set a little low so it cut through the tabs mostly. But they pretty much stayed put. This is the last one. See it kind of jump in there when it finished the cut. So there they are. Then a little sanding and some flat black paint, and they're ready to mount. Okay, this is the final assembly. You can see I've got the feet on the bottom. The knobs are on. And I've got it sitting on top of my other project that has been on hold until I get the dial shipped to me, which appears now will be in a couple of days, so I can finish that one too. Both of these go to the same owner, and that's kind of why I did the cabinet in this style, so that they'll have some similarity. And here's a shot with the house lights dimmed down so you can see the dial and how it's lit. It's not very bright. In a well-lit room, you can barely tell that there's a light in there. So that's it. This project is done. I'll turn this back over to the owner, and probably earlier in the week, the the following week I'll be able to get this other one finished. It's completed except I need to mount the dial. Everything else is done on that one. And you can see that also on my channel if you want to watch that video. So this is now done, like I said, and I hope somebody gets something out of watching this. I had certainly had fun doing it. Thanks for watching.